Magandang araw po sa kanilang lahat. Ako po si Roby Alampay ng One News at CignalTV at also ng PumaPodcast. Welcome po dito sa ating webinar series, AI Nako! Understanding the Impact of Artificial Intelligence on Media and Communication Education, the AI revolution in media and communication. I think we all know what we're talking about when we mention AI. Specifically, top of mind sa ating lahat ngayon, ChatGPT and all of the newfangled tools at our disposal. Natatakot ba kayo? Na-excite ba kayo? Those are the kinds of things that we will start from and we will be discussing. And of course, tatanungin natin, ginagamit nyo na ba? And we would like to know also your insights on your experience with ChatGPT and AI in general as they relate to our work, as they relate to our lives. For those watching us, ipagkalat nyo po, please do share us on the social platforms that you're on. We can be viewed by live streaming on YouTube at the TVUP channel, as well as any of the TVUP and PCS FB pages. Kasama na rin po dyan ang TVUP CignalTV Channel 101. You should be seeing that on your screens. So kung magyaya pa po kayo and post it on your social media pages. Now, acknowledgements lang po. We would like to thank, of course, the University of the Philippines, UPSRP, the PCS, the ITDC, the TVUP, of course, and also our sponsors, San Miguel Corporation, Philippine Daily Inquirer, and of course, the University of the Philippines. For those in attendance, of course, as you've been made aware, there will be certificates of attendance as well, apart from, of course, our heartfelt gratitude for everybody's participation here. Okay, so umpisan tayo, diretso na tayo with our welcome remarks, with remarks that he prepared himself. Dean Fernando Paragas, Dean po ng College of Mass Communications at the University of the Philippines. Dean.
Magandang tanghali at maraming salamat to the Philippines Communication Society for this kind invitation to open its first webinar for 2023. Let me start by acknowledging the panic in the air. Artificial intelligence will be the death of our profession. Like in the Terminator movies, the machines have risen and will soon take over all of us. But let me calm the panic. AI is not new. It has been with us for a long time now. After all, how does Google come up with such appropriate search results within seconds? How do apps such as YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram provide us personalized content? How does Waze provide us real-time travel advisories to our destinations? These are all AI-enabled technologies. There are no humans behind them directly replying to us. And they refine their results with each activity that they input to them. Instead, AI-enriched algorithms, refined and enabled by scientists and technicians, through time, deliver whatever it is that we seek from these apps. The recent panic, however, is founded on the idea that seemingly all too suddenly, the robot is doing only what we as sentient human beings should only be able to do: write poems and essays, synthesize literature, and create art, among very human activities. But such apprehensions with newer technologies are not new. The Frankfurt School, from nearly a century ago, has made its name interrogating society's relationship with the new media of their time. Walter Benjamin, for example, said mechanical reproduction has resulted in the loss of aura that is exclusive only to original works of art. Because photography and film are mechanically reproduced, our relationship with them are supposedly neither singular nor authentic as our experience with a painting or opera. More recently, there were questions whether Netflix movies are cinema. In such panics, during such pivotal times, we forget our own centrality. That ultimately, it is we the people who feed and optimize the technology, in this case, AI. Remember, for instance, that weird and irrelevant Facebook advertisement that showed up in your newsfeed? That time driving in the province where Waze misguided you to some other destination? It is because the AI did not have much to go on. There was not much user-generated content from which to extrapolate and upon which to deliver the best results for us. This note about feeding the AI reminds us that the databases from which AI draws its results ultimately come from us. AI only creates nodes and connections, as well as secondary data analysis from data that we primarily create. We feed AI poor content, and it will generate poorer content. We feed it sound content, and it perhaps will generate better content. The Writers Guild of America in a recent statement said, and I quote, "It is important to note that AI software does not create anything. It generates a regurgitation of what it is fed." End quote. It is also up to us how we co-opt AI to our own communication and media practice. Last January, Mohammad Hosseini, Lisa Rasmussen, and David Resnick published an editorial in the Taylor and Francis journal, Accountability in Research, regarding the use of AI to write scholarly publications. In the article, they demonstrated how AI seems to create seemingly sound literature reviews, even as AI is prone to mistakes too. Thus, they underscore the continuing importance of upholding personal integrity. Firstly, that it is our duty to be transparent in the use of AI. Secondly, that we must be scrupulous in checking for, as the authors listed them, and I quote, accuracy, bias, relevance, and reasoning. And thirdly, that we, and I quote again, need to be held accountable for its accuracy, cogency, and integrity, that is of our manuscripts. Such admonition is a reminder that AI only enables us to deliver on various tasks, but that the ethics and rigor that inform such tasks rest squarely on our shoulders. Much of the concern over AI is that it takes over our heretofore exclusive purview of content creation, not unlike how photographers would have taken work from painters or cinema people from theater workers. But we know better than to think of these lines with such determinisms. What must concern us as communication and media practitioners is how we evolve our discipline and our industry. And what must concern us even more, as we have done with each iteration of technological evolution, is the impact of AI-enriched content on the nature of our relationships, similar to what the Frankfurt schools did during their time. What hyper-personal, parasocial relationships may emerge because of AI and the content we help enable it to create. What kind of society will we be fostering, and what kinds of individuals will we be nurturing? Finally, our greatest concern would be how to continue to uphold our long-standing values as communication and media practitioners, values such as humanity, independence, accuracy, fairness and impartiality, and accountability and transparency. At the same time, how do we welcome the values of digital culture, such as being collaborative, data-driven, innovative, inclusive, and flexible to our practice? This concern includes ensuring that AI is a tool that promotes our collective welfare, such as the protection of our intellectual property and the fostering of our creativity. I leave you now with these thoughts and look forward to a meaningful discussion this afternoon. Maraming salamat at padayon sa ating lahat ng mga scholar, mananaliksik, at mga malikhaing manggagawa ng bayan.
Maraming salamat, Dean Paragas. Mamaya-maya isasama natin si Dean Paragas sa ating diskusyon. And we will now jump into our discussions. Pero the first question is to people watching and participating with us right now. You will be flashing on your screen some questions just to start it off, just to see where we all currently stand. I hope you're seeing on your screen right now a couple of questions that we'd like you to answer. Can I see this? Can I see the screen? I'm not seeing the screen. Is anybody else seeing it? Okay. So Andito, meron tayong 3 guide questions and we'd like everybody to participate. You can join us. You take out your phones. You can scan the QR code that you're seeing there, or you can just go to slido.com. That's slido.com and enter our key hashtag 3264621, and then you join us and makikita nyo doon yung guide questions. First, ito yung question. Ginagamit nyo na ba ang AI, and for what? For what are you using AI right now? Marami tayong options dyan. Essays, presentations, scripts, transcription, and so on and so forth. Then second question, just tell us if you agree or disagree. I see nothing wrong with using AI apps for school or work. So pasok nyo yung answers nyo dyan. And then third question, to what extent have you used AI already for your school and for your work? Okay? So do join us in this survey, and we'd like to see where we currently stand. Para rin yung mga speakers natin, alam din natin kung ano ba yung alam na natin, di ba? Hindi na natin dadaanan. But also, we want to get a sense, not just of where the speakers stand, but where you stand right now when it comes to AI. Okay? Papakita na ba natin ang survey so far? We'll give you another minutes or so. And let's see where people stand. Okay, let's go to ito, nakikita nyo yung sa, let's go to, ito, so this is you see the word cloud here. Give one AI tool that you have used, and kita nyo naman sa size ng sagot. ChatGPT, obviously, very, very high on everybody's minds. Quillbot is also something that people use. Siri, Grammarly. I think one good takeaway here very quickly is people also already understand that when we talk about AI, it's not just ChatGPT. And for that matter, when we talk about AI, it's not just now. Marami dito, mga matagal na nating ginagamit. There's Canva, Papago, OpenAI, Midjourney, DALI, Grammar AI. So a lot of these things we've already actually been using, and certainly, sa mga search engines pa lang, dami na natin ginagamit. A lot of AI already built in our tools in the computer. Tapos sa next question, saan natin ginagamit? For what purposes have we been using AI? And yan, 41% they use it for essays, for social media posts, for presentations, transcriptions, scripts, and so on, problem solving as well. Bottom line, ginagamit natin for many things. As we've seen also kanina, we use it also for graphics. We use it for our presentations and many other things. And then, next question, do you agree or disagree with this question? I would think people feel quite comfortable, di ba? Based on the fact that marami nang gumagamit. But the question was, I see nothing wrong with using AI. Do you agree or disagree? A lot of people, 40% say they agree. 40% are neutral. 12% actually strongly agree. So that's a majority already who agree. And really only 6 to 8% disagree. 6 to 8% really feel that there's something that we should be careful about at the very least when we see AI. And then third, to what extent have you been using AI for your school or for your work projects? Tingnan natin. I've only used AI-generated output as guide material or jumping off point, 66%. 21% have not tried it yet. Okay, this entire webinar is going to be very interesting, very compelling for you guys who have not tried it yet. Although, as people have reminded, actually you have. Maybe you're just not aware of the different tools. Maybe you're referring specifically to ChatGPT. Maybe you're referring specifically to DALI or Midjourney or Bing. But actually, I think we'll get into that later. You have been using it, whether you know it or not. Some 9% say they've copied only parts of AI-generated output. And then 4% say they've copied most or entire AI-generated output. Okay, we'll get into all of that later on. Fascinating insights, of course, from everyone. Now, we did get insights from other people ahead of this webinar. We interviewed people on the street and asked them, kayo ba ginagamit nyo na? We asked them the same questions that we asked you. Panoorin natin ang mga sagot nila.
Familiar na po ako sa AI or artificial intelligence, and
Hi.
I am using it for my sa school or sa work.
Yeah, narinig ko na yung AI. Recently, may mga nag-trending kasi na articles.
Medyo trending kasi siya ngayon, lalo na sa mga academic setup.
I'm very much active in the AI discourse. In fact, I have researched about it on a surface level.
So I've been using yung Google Assistant po, like for note-taking po.
Siguro dahil nag-masters din ako ngayon, na-encounter ko yung ChatGPT. I tried using it para tumulong sa paggawa siguro ng outline ng pag gumagawa ko ng papers or pag may gusto akong malaman na medyo complex yung idea kasi nasi-simplify niya.
To some extent, yes, I've used it. And on a deep surface, no. My usage of AI tools mainly revolves around grammar improvements through, I guess we're all familiar of it, in the academy especially, Grammarly, and for plagiarism score detector, such as Turnitin and any other type of AI for plagiarism score.
Nakagamit na ako before. So yung boss ko sa office, nag-share siya ng link. Not for anything, but for us to try and to address our curiosity exactly how AI works.
Nag-boom talaga sa public is yung ChatGPT. I did not use it personally for any work-related po. Out of curiosity lang din, parang naging bandwagon. Sumabay lang din sa general public. Isa din po is yung DALL-E, wherein itatype mo lang kung ano yung generate, yung parang may idea ka, itatype mo lang siya. Tapos yung AI na mismo yung gagawa ng imahe base doon sa description na binigay mo.
Right now, what's the hot AI or the hottest AI right now is that will be ChatGPT, and specifically for text-based AI. For visual-based AI, there is DALL-E.
Okay, narinig naman natin. I think relate naman tayong lahat sa mga sinabi ng mga kasama natin, mga kapatid natin, no? But now let's go on now with our first speaker. I want to invite Gemma Bagayaua-Mendoza. She is head for digital strategy of Rappler. Gemma, are you with me? Diyan na ba si Gemma? Gemma, are you there? Can I ask the organizers where we stand? Where is Gemma with us? Baka naka-mute or... Is Gemma with us? While we wait for clarification, I'll wait for clarification from our organizers. Should I paki-ano lang if we should move on to the next speaker kaagad while we wait? Okay, we'll wait. We'll proceed muna to our next speaker. Our next speaker is Christian Dela Cruz, Director of Digital Media for the Manila Broadcasting Company. We'll try to have Gemma later on and join us while we figure that out. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Christian. Ikaw na muna mauna kung okay lang sa iyo.
Sure, Robbie. Hi, good afternoon to everyone.
Sige, okay. Teka muna Christian, nag-share na yung iba. So just to keep us all on the same level before your presentation, you have 5 minutes. And this doesn't count to your time. I just want to ask you, ikaw ba ginagamit mo na? Ano nang ginagamit mo na AI?
Yes, of course. By the way, I'm using, for example, Otter.ai. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Otter.ai, but I also do share the same sentiment with the other attendees dito sa ating webinar, no? I think mostly transcription, nakita ko kanina sa survey, essay. But yes, transcription, especially in the corporate world, no? Talagang malaking tulong yung transcription, how AI can be more efficient in terms of, providing real-time outputs. So yeah, one thing I've used is Otter.ai, of course, ChatGPT. By the way, just to share with everyone, ChatGPT, I use that to come up with Excel formulas because I'm not an Excel expert, but I need that to somehow come up with some tools and computations for the business. So
Okay. O sige, Christian, just to signal formally to everyone, dahil alam kong, with a little prompt, all of us are excited to so I don't want to eat into your formal presentation. Ito na tayo. Ito na yung formal presentation ni Christian de la Cruz.
Roby, just to clarify, I have no present. Sorry.
Okay. O sige, wala pala. Okay. Sige, my bad. Pasensya na. O sige, I want to prompt therefore yung isang inano mo. And with the same question. So may ginagamit ka na. But especially since lumabas tong ChatGPT, meron ka bang concerns? That second statement, for example, I see nothing wrong with using AI. Agree, disagree?
For me, it's a safe answer. You neutral. I will go with neutral. Oh, okay. I'll justify why I'll go with neutral because number one, technically it's not new, but I think this is the first time that it created that trend and buzzword. I mean, not just here in the Philippines, but globally, And the reason why I'm saying I'm neutral because number one, in terms of the use and oversight, ng paggamit ng technology. Okay. When I say oversight is yes, everyone's using AI. However, up to what extent? No, is there a certain group that's overseeing the technology? Let's say, for example, I think earlier we had this conversation when it comes to, let's say, using AI in terms of pharma, in terms of healthcare. How accurate are we in terms of predicting, in terms of analyzing, in terms of diagnosis of our patients? No, that's number one. Now, when it comes to content creation and when it comes to broadcasting, AI is, as I've shared earlier, AI is a tool that somehow helps us in terms of producing contents. And I've shared earlier na meron tayong tinatawag na radio GPT. So, in fact, that's also a challenge when it comes to broadcast. Sabi ko nga kanina, when we say radio GPT, it's really a tool that somehow pinupunan niya yung hours na parang pwede nang walang DJ. So it's somehow it's a question also of how we can sustain these jobs, no. So yun siya, Roby.
Oo, I mean, banggitin ko lang yung radio GPT, pinakinggan ko yan the other day lang because a friend of mine who is a radio DJ posted it, and for people who don't know, ang galing lang, di ba? No judgment, pero ang galing lang, di ba, Christian? Parang yung radio GPT, basically, it plays songs, di ba? It curates songs, it plays songs, tapos may papasok na DJ, artificial voice, AI-generated script, and it's pulling news in real time from the web. Siya na rin yung namimili ng news. So, alam you know how it is when DJs come in with a little news or a little banter. And then it's completely an AI that's talking, and then let's move on to the next song with a little banter as well about the history of that song, about the artist, and so on.
Yes.
And I think the voice itself, medyo mahuhuli mo pa, di ba? It sounds but pretty good. What did you think when you heard it?
For me, it also poses a question of the connection of the DJ to its listeners. In the radio industry, we're also looking at how connected are you when it comes to your listeners, no? And that's somewhat human element. I think that's something that we need to parang calibrate and look into, because radio GPT, yes, it generates content, it generates news updates, it generates weather updates, for your radio station. However, when it comes to radio, it's about personal connection. It's about, creating that real-time update also for your listeners. How can you, further give that emotional connection with your listeners? I think that's where still the DJs are still coming in. No? So, yes, Radio GPT might help in terms of sabihin na natin news updates, real-time updates of weather news. However, there are also questions that radio is also about connection, human connection. And I think we still have to leverage on that as an industry.
Pero in the meantime, Christian, every time you say these things na magaling pero, di ba? Pero kulang pa. Magaling pero walang human connection. Magaling pero hindi naman siya nakakatawa, di ba? But at the back of your mind, are you like me when you have that voice in your head as well and that sinking feeling even na, oh, but it's a matter of time. Kung at this point, ganito nakagaling to, parang who's to say, baka naman in 1 year or 2 years, nando na tayo, wala na yung mga buts, wala na yung mga pero.
Yes, it's a matter of time, Robbie. Kasi again, sabi ko nga, we are treading in our uncharted territory right now. No, we are all navigators here. This technology right now is pushing us, forcing us. Every industry, not just the broadcast industry, it's forcing us to somehow, understand, see the impact of these technologies in terms of our business operations, in terms of how it can impact, let's say, for example, our audience. One example is in Manila Broadcasting Company, we also have, of course, news organizations. No, and I think aside from the radio broadcast business is we know that text to image is possible using chat gpt. It can generate essays. I think in the surveys earlier it showed that some students are actually using it for as a jump off point for their topics. As a news organization, I think it also gives us that idea that yes, there are technologies like chat gpt, but then Dean Paragas said it very well that we still have to uphold the values that we have to look into as far as journalism, as far as communication is concerned. Integrity, fair, impartiality. So those things, I think, as of the moment, I'm not saying that it might not be possible, but as of the moment, those things are still worth looking into, especially in terms of news broadcasting.
Sige, Christian, balikan ka namin mamaya. I'll bring you in later sa discussions natin. So if you have questions for Christian, paki-save lang po. But that's also my opportunity to remind everyone, if you have questions, you can comment, you can paste your questions here in our forum. If you're joining from social media, you can comment with questions, and we'll try to monitor the questions of everybody and try to harness that to enrich our discussions as well. Let's move on to JV Rufino. We're still waiting for Gemma. In the meantime, let's bring in good friend JV Rufino. JV, are you with us?
I am. Yeah.
Hi, JV. Can you turn on your camera?
No. Okay. Okay, there. No,
Okay.
I was trying to turn it on earlier, but it's under the host. It's under the host's control. Yeah.
Okay,
Hi, Rob.
okay.
It's been a while.
So yeah, it's been a while, yeah. But always good to see you. And pasensya na, usually I would say JV Rufino of the Inquirer Group and so on. But
that's still valid. Yeah.
Okay.
That's still valid, yeah.
Yeah. I know, and I think everybody equates Inquirer with you. But dito lang, para lang for everybody, so what's the Threadborne Group?
Threadborne Group is our family office. It's concentrated in property and real estate investments and technology and the intersections in between. So our most public-facing project is the Digital Edge data centers that we just launched one in Laguna.
Okay.
But earlier this month, in fact.
Yeah. Sige. Now, JV, we have 5 minutes for each of you. I mean, you tell me, do you have a presentation?
No, I don't have a presentation.
Okay, great. Then I just get to ask you. Your first,
Yeah.
I mean, sa totoo lang, JV, ang galing, di ba?
It is, yeah. It's a very good simulation of intelligence, not intelligence itself.
Mm.
But it's
So,
damn good, yeah. Been a
For-
long
for-
while waiting, been waiting for it to hit this point.
Yeah, but first time that you ever heard, first time you ever tried Chat GPT, and not AI. Like I said, I know you know naman that we're using AI a lot for a long time already. But specifically Chat GPT, first time you used it, didn't you get that feeling na mas magaling pa to sa kaibigan ko eh?
I used it to. I actually said, can I use it to write editorials or columns or stuff?
Yeah.
And I tried it out. And okay, the first thing that struck me about ChatGPT is it tends to produce very good but very generic copy. Okay, it's that's why it's actually very good for corporate press releases or that sort of thing, because the language is very is very normal. It's like super on the right there in the middle of the bell curve in terms of normality. So it works. It's okay, but if you're looking for a little individuality, but that's what I like about it as a writer, because my problem as a writer is I hate the blank screen or the blank page syndrome,
Yes.
which is the most intimidating part. That's why I work better as an editor actually than you give. I'm like a mutant pyro. Give me something to work with, and yeah, we're talking. So if it breaks that first draft, you give someone a first draft to work with, then it gets the ball rolling, right? And that's what a lot of people have used. Just as I'm actually stepped out from a conference here in the Urban Land Institute. And I was talking to my table mates. Have you used ChatGPT? Yeah, we have ChatGPT, not ChatGPT per se, but Copilot in Office 365, and they've been using it for social media copy, and it just like struck me like, oh my god! So we don't no more notepad scribblings of draft Twitter posts. The AI is generating, but that can help.
I mean, it's true. But I do have to say I have used it as well for drafts, and you're absolutely right. I can certainly that's the first thing that 100% I can relate to. Na it's the writer's block that it helps me get past that initial blank screen. And tell me how it is for you, but from my experience, I've asked it to draft scripts, I've asked it to draft op-eds. And then I get into it in editor mode, as you said. And then when I look at the finished product and I look at the initial response of ChatGPT, I feel really good because 95 to 99% of the final product, I can in all good conscience say, ako rin pala nagsulat nito eh.
Yeah. It helps you overcome. It's almost like a creativity tool in that sense, And it also, like, I was just on my Twitter timeline, there's an article from the FT, a writer who says, I use AI to do the stuff that I don't like doing. I will not use my AI to write my column, but I will use AI to help me with my expense report, because I don't know about you, but that's the one thing I hated about corporate life. I hated expense reports. I don't think anyone has ever found them easy. And if you use AI to automate, like just earlier in the chat, in the pre-production chat, we're talking about AIs that do the minutes of meetings.
Yeah.
Which is great, because then everyone can participate. Because the poor person who's assigned to do the minutes of meeting in a meeting is essentially not a participant in that meeting.
Actually, the downside there is now anybody can be absent.
That's true. But the other downside, and people talk about job creation and stuff, is most of the intern type jobs, that entry level jobs, the AI will take care of. So you're not going to get a person to do the minutes of the meeting, to do the office drudge work that everyone gets their start in, right? So that's what has me a bit worried, that you have to come into the organization and bring higher value.
If you're worried about that, then answer this for our participants and people watching in. I know I have a friend who interviewed somebody, junior staff. And then this is a question that he asked the yung interviewee, yung applicant. And I want to ask for you, how would you answer it? Because I suspect a lot of the people watching now, when they apply for a job, they will be asked. So tinanong siya, ginagamit mo ba ang ChatGPT? Sinabi niya, yes. They got into a conversation about how great it is, how wonderful it is. And then, sagutin mo to as if you're the applicant. JV, so ba't kita kailangan?
Because sometimes the chat GPT will hallucinate and you don't want it to post a hallucination. And you also have to guide, the chat GPT sometimes it's like your search terms in a search engine. There's actually a new kind of job called prompt engineer. And the prompt engineer's job is to write the prompt to ChatGPT in such a way that it produces the output you want.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, for me, if you look at it at a very high level, that's actually programming. Because programming is essentially telling a machine in absurd detail what you want it to do. While with AI, with ChatGPT, a prompt engineer is writing in normal English, but he is nudging the AI to output what you want it to output, and not some strange product.
Oh, pero JV,
very specific for DALL-E, for visual, yes. Yeah, that's
but then
important.
same thing I asked Christian. Do you get that sinking feeling that okay, yeah, kaya kong sagutin yan because right now ganito, right now marami yung palpak, hindi mo papagkatiwalaan yan and so on. But do you have that feeling, but this is a closing window as well. Even to that point, it's only a matter of time when even prompt engineers, quote unquote, are going to... I saw a video, for example, of saying that here's a prompt for ChatGPT to help you craft better prompts. And
that's so meta.
It was very, very meta, but basically it asked ChatGPT, I want to use Midjourney. I don't really speak in terms of images. And therefore, how would I prompt something like this? And then after you give me the prompt, ask me 2 more questions to further clarify what I want. And then he just takes it to Midjourney, and then it just he goes back to the cycle and then prompts for a short answer for 2 clarificatory questions until eventually he or she gets what he wants.
Yeah. No, and that's fine because it's still the human doing the asking. It's it's the human who has a goal in mind, and it's a great force. I think the ultimate the spark of creativity. Because the one thing about AI is it is essentially a pattern engine, which means it in a way cannot create anything really new. It is, of course you can go like all Ecclesiastes and say there's really nothing new under the sun. But it really just the real black swan out of left field creativity remains something in the province of humans. Now the thing is you have to learn how to catch that lightning in the bottle.
Yeah. Okay. Is Gemma with us na? Can I get?
Yes, I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Sige, JV. Then we'll take you. We'll bring you back. Hi, Gemma.
Sure. Hi, Gemma.
Gemma?
Hi, Roby. Hindi ko na lang i-on ang video ko kasi medyo may
Oo. Sige. Yeah, we can hear you. May presentation ka ba, Gemma? Gemma? Yeah, mukhang may technical problems talaga tayo. Gemma's outside, by the way, and she's attending to some things in the real world. So we understand how things can get. Ganito na lang, habang may technical problems pa tayo kay Gemma, ipasok na natin ulit si JV tsaka si Cruz. Hi, Gemma. Are you there? Wala, mukhang may problema talaga tayo. Gemma? Hi, kamusta? May presentation ka ba? No, I think we really have technical problems. Ganito na lang. Ipasok na natin si JV at saka si Christian. And then let's just continue this conversation. And then when Gemma's with us, she can join us in this conversation. Christian, JV, let's continue what I was discussing. Question to both of you. Therefore, with everything that we discussed, okay, so anong policy niyo sa organizations niyo? What do you tell your staff? Are they allowed? Do you encourage? Do you discourage the use of AI?
Okay, siguro I'll go first.
Yeah, go.
For MDC, we don't have a policy yet To be honest, no. This is quite new also to Manila Broadcasting Company. However, we do not prohibit anyone from testing, from exploring what these tools are. No, kumbaga, if the tools can help you in terms of your productivity, then go ahead. No, but to be honest, we don't have a policy yet when it comes to AA. But that's something I think that organization should look into. No, especially academe or maybe businesses and so forth.
Ikaw, JV, may policy ba kayo?
What we're doing is we're actively experimenting with it. That's one of the things I've been working on with Inquirer. Been exchanging notes with the editors on it, and they've been doing some interesting experiments with it. It's actually a thread of things we've done before. Way back in the day, we had an earthquake bot article generator. And it was not really AI. It was a fill in the blank. I pre-wrote an article on when an earthquake happens. Because that's a very structured story. An earthquake of magnitude X took place in location Y, and the bot would essentially parse PVOX or USGS RSS feed and plug the variables in, right? And it wasn't really even AI. I would have maybe that's just mail merge, right? So.
Yeah.
So, but it's sort of along those lines.
Yeah, but at that point, the technology wasn't quite there. I know what you're saying in terms of the structure and what you could anticipate in terms of possible responses to possible questions. But now that you do have Bing, now that you have APIs specifically that you can plug in, what happens to that experiment? You can bring back that experiment now with the technology that's actually existing. Plug in the API.
Yeah. You could actually use it to generate. You can actually generate basic and news articles. That's nothing really new. I think the only important thing is you can't. We know there's a certain news organization that was doing basically artificially generating stories, and they were like 50% error rate, in factual error rate, and got the editors at that place really upset. So I think you still need a human to go through it because AI is capably producing perfectly wonderfully constructed and completely fake, completely invented facts. So you got to put guardrails on it and direct it. But definitely, there's a lot. We were talking earlier, like for example, like the midnight shift of online news organizations and radio, where it's a challenge to always keep that thing staffed. And you could, basically you could have a one-man editor with an AI, holding the fort until people can be roused from bed to staff the newsroom, right? And big things happen.
Speaking of content generated by AI, and speaking of consuming material from AI, whether you're aware of it or not, Christian, I was in a conference. Probably as far as 8-9 years ago. And then ang presenter noon was Gina Chua, who was the executive editor of Reuters and based in New York, diba? The mothership itself. And then Gina was saying that even back then, Reuters had gotten to the point that their own AI was already writing and straight to publishing AI-generated content. It had gotten to the point that there was no human intervention. So at first, they experimented with AI writing it, humans editing it, and then publishing.
Yeah.
As early as 8-9 years ago, Reuters was already serving you, all of us watching, specifically business stories, a certain segment of business stories, and a certain segment of high school and small town sports. And it had gotten to the point that they said, okay, ito pwede nang pakawalan, hindi na kailangan ng human intervention dito. And with the sports, there was colorful language involved. To your point earlier, Christian, na that connection with the community. And I think the key there was the data, di ba? That's what Gina said, di ba? Para the important thing there was, sa America kasi in these small towns, you have people actually putting data of high school sports, di ba? Little League Baseball, everything is data. And where you have data, all of that is therefore possible. But Christian, back to us here in the Philippines. Not everything is data at this point in the Philippines. Not everything is digitized and so on. But di ba? At a certain point, everything is headed in that direction. More and more people, more and more organizations, even government, NGOs, academic institutions are putting up more and more data. What's your biggest fear? I mean, there's a lot of people here who are in journalism, in communications, and so on. What's your biggest fear for never mind us, di ba? But the next generation?
I think, Robbie, I'd like to quote the Sam Altman himself when it comes to answer this question. No? I think Sam Altman himself, his biggest fear is actually disinformation.
Mm.
You know, I think Gemma mentioned earlier in our pre-webinar portion that AI is being fed with data. No, the AI is generally getting its brain from data being fed to the system. And I think that's also a question that we have to ask ourselves, even the tech guys, that what kind of data, ano yung mga nilalagay natin, ano yung mga feed natin with AI. And that somehow also give us an idea. It can be data that are really verified. However, there's also that opportunity wherein other people might take advantage of. And I think that's one thing that might be a threat in terms of, I mean, the idea of confirming the veracity of information that we're getting from these tools. So I think Sam Altman worded it very, I don't want to call it beautiful, but you know what, it somehow creates that apprehension that these technologies might create disinformation. And that's
Sige. Maybe we can bring it in the program. Sabi natin, we'll expand this panel at a certain point. Let's do that now. I want to bring in Dean Paragas of the UP College of Mass Communications and bring in the academic concern and insights here as well. Dean, are you with us? Can you join us?
Yes, I'm here.
Dean, okay. We've been talking about this largely from the lens of media. From the lens of practitioners that you at the College of Mass Communications are helping to train and to bring up. But before I ask you to jump in on the journalism side, I want to ask you on the academic side as well. What are your concerns as an educator?
Actually, initially, we talked about plagiarism, etc., because students, like the panic in the chat room is everyone will just be plagiarizing content and submitting them as their own work. But then we realized as a college that perhaps we can ask students not to do the same things we're used to asking them to do, tasks which now AI can do, quite easily. So maybe there are higher level tasks which we can require students to do, like what Robbie has just said earlier. To generate through ChatGPT something and then to improve on it, such that then it is not part. You already know that it's not plagiarized because you'll ask the student to submit the ChatGPT generated document, and then what the students did on top of it. And so there are many other ways of requiring students to deliver outputs. I think the times are changing, and we need to be changing as well the requirements that we ask for students.
Alam mo, I was watching a YouTube video with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And then tinanong siya dito, same concern. Paano to, yung mga students, paano? Very interesting thought and thought experiment. Not just you, but for everybody here. Sabi ni Neil deGrasse Tyson, ang incentive ng estudyante mag-plagiarize is not the ease of use of the tool. It is not the power of the tool that incentivizes a student to cheat. What incentivizes a student to cheat is the grading system. I don't know what your thoughts are, but he said, try this thought experiment. Everybody watching. Kung walang grading system, and you bring back the whole point of education being the objective of education is not to get higher grades, but to learn. what do you think that will do to how we appreciate, use, or fear AI?
Oh, okay. Well, there's an ongoing conversation right now. How do we actually assess, in these changing times? Because we're just so used to requiring this and that every semester. But times are changing, and we should one, change our requirements, and second, the way we grade those requirements. Because as I said earlier, the values of the digital culture is being collaborative, being innovative, being data-driven, etc. And there's such a thing called adhocracy. Because in the olden times, we're so used to, okay, this is your final paper, and I'm going to grade it now. But with being ad hoc, what is called adhocracy, being innovative and collaborative, work is in progress all the time, and then you continually refine your output until such time that there's a deadline, and they'll give you a grade.
Yeah.
But there are steps along the way where you really mentor each other, and you learn from the students learn from you.
JV, Christian, were you good students?
I'm trying to remember. Just joking.
Ikaw,
No,
Christian.
but yeah, but yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, JV, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, on the point of to demonstrate that the student will learn. I think you're gonna see a resurgence in oral examinations, because if essays can be AI written and all, then probably the ultimate test is the person is like, take away the AI, get in front of a panel and talk orally, and you either know your stuff or you don't. Some of my best experiences in university were oral exams. So because done well, they're not really an exam at all. They're actually pretty beneficial. So you probably might end up in that. Except of course, it's a very oral exams are a very labor-intensive way of examination.
Ikaw, Christian, if you were a student right now, how do you imagine yourself using AI?
I think the same thing, more on text like essays. However, I think there needs to be intervention pa rin, no? Especially how satisfied I am in terms of the output. But I think it also calls, let's say for example, from the point of view of students, I think especially those who are talagang gang-ho in terms of learning, getting the grades, as we mentioned earlier, they're really being incentivized by this grading system. Maybe the universities or the academy can somehow put a new mechanism in place to counter check the maybe the learning, or how our students were able to parang natuto doon sa pinag-aralan natin. I think that's really one way of working. It can be a hybrid combination. It can be a hybrid, no? You can do, let's say, request them to submit essays, output, and so forth. But I think there's also a chance to cross-check their intelligence, or their idea of what the subject really is, by, let's say, verbal examinations, recitations, I don't know, but those can be cross-check references in terms of evaluating these students, especially for those who are I think kanya-kanya yan, but there are students who are really kahit sabihin mo may AI, talagang they really wanted to learn from what the subject is all about. So
I think we have another video here. Questions again from people on the streets, people we talked to, the UP College of Mass Communications spoke to. Pakinggan natin yung ibang tanong pa ng mga tao.
I would like to ask po is there a possible harm or negative effect po ba that the AI can cause?
Siguro po yung question ko para po sa mga AI experts natin today, siguro yung nakikita nilang nakikita nyo pong parang future po ng AI at least in the academic setup dito sa Pilipinas. So parang magiging helpful ba siya, makakatulong ba siya, or parang madi-disrupt nyo ba yung parang current system na meron tayo dito?
Okay, I just want to, on top of all of that, I just want to read some of the comments here. From Walter Balane, he says we need to bring in outcomes-based learning and teaching. Something that JV and Christian has already alluded to. This is from Lex Vici. VC, what if Lex asks, what is your take on students generating essay assignment from ChatGPT and then submitting it to class, claiming that it is his or her work? Tapos si Rojan Ramirez points out that there are apps that can check if IP is being violated. There are plagiarism, anti-plagiarism software. Lex again says, I like the term licensed plagiarism. Si Castel Angela says, I think the use of the grading system only serves as an objective approach to learning, where learning, which is an intangible process, is measured fairly. And then from Ashley Jane, if the grading system were changed or gone, how can one determine his urge to learn and be competent? And then Lucille it says, it might just become a battle of AIs. That's a good point. Parang either pagalingan ng AI to outdo each other or to catch each other. Okay, I want to bring back Dean Paragas. Dean, so ito nabanggit yung mga panghuli ng AI. I remember talking to my children back when they were still in high school. So this was about 6 years ago. And I remember saying, by all means, use anything you want. And that, there was a time when Google pa yung kinakatakutan natin. There was a time when Wikipedia and the internet in general yung kinakatakutan. I remember telling my kids, yeah, it's easy to cheat. You can go ahead and cheat. But here is not an incentive to be honest, but a disincentive to cheating. As easy as it is to cheat, it's also much, much easier to catch you. Now, my question to you, Dean Paragas, with all the tools at your disposal and all the policies that you are contemplating with respect to AI, we understand why you need to do that. But is there a danger of the academe overreacting to this? What is the risk if the academe just just digs in its heels and says no, or comes out with really harsh penalties? Where are we right now in at least being on responsible footing on how to respond?
Okay, let me put it into context, our discussion today. And much of the apprehensions are about the traditions of the academe. And these traditions, if I may remind everyone, is just over 100 years ago, just over 100 years old. Charles Darwin, 150 over years ago. And the way we are set up right now as universities are about just over 100 years ago, less than 200 years. And the technologies have changed, and the way we educate ourselves will also change. So all of these apprehensions about cheating, etc. You cheat because something is prohibited. But if it is welcomed in the classroom, it is not cheating. If it is part of the terms of engagement.
Para ka nag-exam tapos sinabi, open books.
Open book, yeah. Because this, again, as I've said, these are the values that we have to uphold. And those are the values that we need to talk about and see what is cheating then in this context. But if we persist on our old habits, then everything is cheating now. And then we're going to fight a losing battle, checking against cheating, using another app to check on cheating. When, we just say, okay, these are the tools available. Tell me what you're using. Tell me how you're building on what you're using. And then we interact that way. It is a paradigm shift, but to me, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, but Dean, like we said, habang nag-aantay tayo ng policy, and not everybody has policy. Maybe teachers have policy. Maybe teachers have policies for specific things. And then iba pa may policy ba yung university? May policy ba yung college, di ba? That's what I want to ask about, di ba? Parang where are we on those higher level policy discussions? And is there a danger of the university, not teachers, of universities overreacting before they completely understand the ramifications of AI? I ask this because I've heard of stories about, itong estudyante to turned back 1 year kasi yung thesis niya nahuli, gumamit daw ng AI. Or ito, I mean, you can imagine there will be immediate discussions, cheating and other are code, sipa ka na. I mean, those are things that I'm sure has already happened and there are already cases. Is there a risk to schools overreacting given, what is really a very pivotal moment?
Yeah, I think the real lesson for all of us is that we need to define our shared values, and then the implementing rules and regulations of those values will then follow. And then those implementing rules and regulations will change fast. But when we know our North Star, our guiding light, when we know that, then the implementing rules and regulations will change immediately. And as I've said, it's very adhocratic right now. Even our curriculum, it takes time here in the university and probably in your universities to get a program approved. Before a program is approved, then the technology has moved on, and then your program is already obsolete. But that's a policy right now for the curriculum approval. But that already here we're talking about how to shorten the approval process for the curriculum approval, because timelines are getting shorter. But if you know your North Star, your organizational values, our educational values, then the others are really just minutiae. And then we have to adapt, but still preserve those values.
Okay. Sige. I want to bring it back to the overall future of everything we're concerned about, journalists in particular, the media in particular. JV, Christian, and Dean, ano yung matitirang role ng journalist? What is the highest purpose? I mean, talking about our North Star, what's the highest purpose of journalists now when we say that a journalist can research online? That's fine. Have ChatGPT help you in that research, help you to craft it, diba? And so on, and even help to edit it. I don't know how you feel about ikaw nagsulat, diba? Mahina ka talaga sa grammar, that's fine. So a lot of the best journalists out there are not perfect in their grammar, diba? But now they can go to ChatGPT and say na paki-edit niya, paki-check lang for everything. Make it tighter. What's wrong with that? Diba? But assuming that ChatGPT can do all of that, and AI can can find the perfect picture, post the perfect post, write the perfect social media post for you. What else? What are the values remaining in a journalist? I'll go back to my question. Why do we need you?
What we're doing now, conversation with other humans. That's no AIs are not going to be
precisely
not going to be good at that. Which is actually meaning that it's probably the core values of radio. Actually.
And I think add also, I think in terms of news organizations, we also value having, or from the perspective also of audiences and viewers, we value getting real-time updates, no? Yung sabihin natin breaking news. Anything as of the moment, because AI is being fed by data, I don't think they can predict, Sabihin na natin in as a use case, AI cannot say that may mangyayaring malaking sunog in a particular area, and that's something that the journalists, the news organizations can still leverage into, being there, being where it happens. I think that's also another value, of really deploying your trained journalists, in the field. So that's one thing. I don't know if in the future maybe JV can share, but as of the moment, while it's being fed by data, I think we can still rely on journalists for, let's say, breaking news. Those
because the AI is not there in the field when something blows up, or that it takes people to gather that first party data. I mean, natural disasters and all. Of course, the AIs will pick up the instrumental readings, but that's very different from what's happening on the ground, right? So that, I think, actually the jobs I understand will be most secure from AI are the highly skilled manual type of jobs, firefighters, police, field people who work in the field, because that is not readily replicable by machine.
Okay. Some questions here. Maybe Dean can answer. I'm reading from the Q&A box dito sa Zoom natin. I'll just read some and then let's see what you can take on. From Ian Frederick Carbonell, can AI be regulated within any academic institution? From Mark Lemuel Tubelio, are there available infrastructures to regulate the ethical considerations of AI? And shouldn't this be something that should be the priority even of government? Ram Sonsona asks, if AI is considered good and beneficial, what challenges do they pose to the teaching profession? Dean, I want to prompt you with that. I mean, a lot of those questions have to do also with how our academic institutions set up. But I want to start from the level of teachers first before you can tackle the institution. But what about teachers? Do teachers feel threatened? Never mind our questions to them, anong policy nila? But are their policies partly also driven by fear?
Well, actually, when we had a conversation early this semester here in UP, that was triggered by a lot of apprehensions, a lot of fear. That how can we now catch our students cheating, and then we need to have all of these regulations, policies, etc. in place. And then we came to the conclusion that no, we need to find ways of integrating this, acknowledging that this exists, and harnessing them to the best way that we can. So again, the question is, why regulate? What is the point of regulating? What is the meaning of regulation? And then for what, towards what end? Because if it is something that you can really successfully harness towards achieving your learning outcomes, what is to regulate? But so long as the ethical North Star, if that's clear to us and nothing's violated, everything's transparent, there's no malice. If it is something that that's ChatGPT generated and you've requested the student to submit it, that's not plagiarism because the student is not claiming that as his or her own work. It's ChatGPT's work and that they're building on it.
Here's something that teachers do that AI, I would go on the limb and say, is really doing very well. And frankly, better than many teachers. Consulting. Not in every aspect, diba? But kanina dun sa interviews natin, dun sa videos, somebody mentioned that if may tinuro sa akin, hindi ko naintindihan, I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask ChatGPT, could you explain this concept to me? Diba? And let's face it, I think we've all had bad teachers. We've all had bad teachers who don't know, who are very smart, who know the subject matter, but are not quite there in terms of bringing it down to something that's really digestible. If I have ChatGPT, and I have ChatGPT now, I've found that that's very, very useful, and it's friendly. I'm not afraid. A lot of students, I think, also can relate to this. We all can relate to this. We are afraid to ask questions in the classroom setting. Many students never actually go to the faculty center to knock on the door of the teacher and say, "Ma'am, sir, may I consult on something?" They really don't. But ChatGPT is a much more approachable friend in that sense. With all the caveats na baka nagrurunong-runungan lang yung friend mo na yan. What do you think of that? I mean, is that something that the teachers and the faculty can get behind? Is that something that even a terror teacher can say na, sige, wag niyo na lang ako kausapin. Makinig kayo sa class ko. Pero kung may tanong kayo, sige, go ahead. Tanongin si ChatGPT.
Yeah, but that's not the problem of the technology. That is the problem of the teacher, right?
No, exactly. That's why I'm asking. That's what I want to get to. What's the comfort level here of teachers and the institutions?
Well, the challenge here is really to have very good mentors, and not just the traditional. I'm going to stand here for 1 hour as a talking head, which might as well just be a YouTube video that's standing before you live. So there must be something more to the learning process than lecturing for 1 hour standing there in front of the students, because then you might as well just be a robot You know, so that is what I'm saying. Sometimes we point in the wrong direction. It's not the technology; it's the person teaching who's at fault. Honestly, because I have students. I mean, I have my nephew going to YouTube to learn some math concepts because didn't understand the math teacher.
In a way, it's the same question that I would ask a teacher, and as I would ask the journalists here in our panel. Diba? Why would I approach you? Why do I still need to approach you? Why do I still need to go to journalists for clarification? Why do I still need to know when you know? Thank you for the prompts. In a way, you prompted the consumer to be more curious, and that's something that we've done. But if I want to go deeper, why can't I just keep turning to my phone and to ChatGPT?
Because the ChatGPT has limits and conversing
Okay,
with you.
let me rephrase. AI 5 years from now.
Still, will not be a conversation partner. Same way that, like what you asked earlier about the role of the journalist, right? We can never expect the president to talk in front of a monitor and then ask a question.
Or ako ang nag-freeze?
I think you're freezing.
Robbie, just you point out something. Dean, are you familiar with Khan Academy?
No.
Khan? Yeah, well, Khan Academy is online YouTube. Basically, he started out teaching math, and his YouTube videos are very, very famous for math topics and all.
Oh, Khan Academy.
And he was asked, Khan Academy, and he was asked, I think by Bloomberg. So what's your take on AI in Khan Academy? And he says, well, we have our AIs in Khan Academy are trained to be Socratic tutors. And the AIs are perfect for that because they never lose patience with the student. The student can ask it question after question after question until it really understands the problem, long after the point where even the most patient human tutor would have given up. So,
Pasensya na, I dropped out. I don't know what I missed, but I just want to explain. This is why I keep going back to the question of JV, Christian, Dean. And Gemma, are you with us now?
Yeah, she's here now, and she has lights down.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I just wanted, maybe you can jump in with this, Gemma. As you can imagine, we've been talking about how, parang may silbi pa rin ng teachers, may silbi pa rin ng media, and so on and so forth. I keep going back to this question, really, hindi para mangutya. But one, yes, I do want to ask, are we being real here? O baka naman nagtatapang-tapangan lang tayo? Are we just putting up a brave front? And my point is, maybe I want to get past that brave front because I want to ask, if this scenario comes to pass, na lahat ng sinasabi natin, ChatGPT is often wrong and is always mistaken and so on, and you have to vet it. But if it gets to the point that it's not wrong, if it gets to the point that it's accurate, shouldn't we try to answer our concerns not based on how it is now, but how it is based on an inevitable future?
Yeah. So, Robbie, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Gemma.
So, ganito. So, one way to think about it is, I always think of technology, its potentials, and also the potential for good and the potential for harm. So the potential for good is there. The potentials for helping us is there. Rappler actually experimented with OpenAI GPT to generate content based on vetted structured data. So that's something that newsrooms can use. And we've done this during the elections. There are a few slides actually that I prepared. But basically, it's just simple lang yung text na nagawa namin. That's because we needed to prepare 40,000 profiles of over 40,000 profiles of candidates who were running for elections in the 2022 elections. And frankly, oftentimes journalists are bored with yung formula, the formula stories, investigations and so on. So core stories are things that AI can do very well, and that's being done for
fields like sports, fields like business, yung mga updates to stocks, which are actually based on numbers anyway, and therefore very easy to plug into AI. So there's that. Now, where does it become problematic? It becomes problematic when you start talking about what exactly are you feeding the AI. Not all data, not all information is the same. There's vetted information, there's true information, and there's false information. Now, garbage in, garbage out at the end of the day. And right now, there is no processing. Like wala pang ano, that's the problem right now with AI. It was fed a lot of things, including things from Wikipedia, which we know includes information that also is parang not really vetted. Wikipedia is also part of information, the information wars, no? And people are also battling for their own truths and their own facts within Wikipedia. And as long as you don't have parang a responsibility for facts, and that's what humans are supposed to do, the human vettors, the people like us, journalists, who take responsibility for what we publish. As long as you have that, and if you keep on believing in technology like that without taking things with a grain of salt, that can be problematic. So where can newsrooms leverage AI? For things that are already vetted, kaya nating gawin yon. That's something that we really need to leverage. And why is that important? Because that's also going to help make information accessible to people. Kasi people don't look at numbers naman. People look more, they barely read. So numbers also are are things that will be that will not really resonate to the ordinary individual. So that's when you can use generative technology for creating text. Pero at the end of the day, the humans are still necessary for ferreting out the truth. And ChatGPT, very interestingly, is actually self-conscious about that. If you look at if you just open up yung chat room ng ChatGPT, it tells you that it occasionally spouts content. It hallucinates sometimes, and we've seen it hallucinate a number of times. I've been chatting with it for a while now, and it sometimes makes up stuff. Magaling siyang mangbola. And the thing about it is, magaling siyang bola, and in a very studied, nuanced, and it's seemingly educated way. So nakaka-convince siya, right? Which is why, parang it's where it's good at, it's summarizing things.
Yeah.
It's very good at summarizing.
Tsaka bumibilib ka kasi ang galing mag-English eh. Di ba?
Yes. Di ba?
Okay, but Gemma, JV, and Christian, I do want to get into this as well on the business side. Okay, I think we all understand one thing that people have to understand with ChatGPT, similar to Wikipedia, di ba? It is basically still serving up essentially as good a content or as a bad a content as we humans have put out there online.
Yeah.
Diba? But two things that I want you to respond to. One, that's always been a pet peeve of mine as an editor when I see reporters quoting Wikipedia. So all the students here, please keep in mind that Wikipedia is never a source, never quoted. That's terrible. But here's the point. We were all saying that. And it got to the point that, but now, nakakalusot sa dyaryo, nakakalusot sa online, nakakalusot sa TV, di ba? And even some academics would go to Wikipedia. It's just, so notwithstanding all of those warnings, it's still gonna happen. And then my second concern is may pagka-meta to, di ba? It is our good and bad information that ChatGPT is regurgitating. But if more and more people now get into the habit, let's say with Bing, di ba? Let's say 2 years from now, sobrang galing na, and I'm telling Bing, the first thing I go to Bing, and then I tell Bing, tell me the news of the day. And then I develop that habit. So Bing now takes all the oxygen from the traffic and the reach, and therefore all the business. Parang kahit anong sabihin nila, I really don't believe that people will be clicking through to Rappler and to Inquirer and to ABS-CBN and GMA and the news sites of One News and TV5. And so they won't. They'll just happy na ako. Sige, pakainin mo ako Bing ng mga reliable information. But then if you lose that incentive and that business model, then no media will be generating the real-time information that can then be fed into Bing.
And that can be a problem, right,
Diba?
JB? Yung, I mean, Robbie, kasi at the end of the day, these AI bots, they need information sources that is vetted. And when you're talking about news, you're actually talking shoe leather reporting. People actually need to go to people and talk to people and vet information. And that's not something that an AI can actually do right now, unless you're talking unless you're saying an AI can interview a source. At the moment on the ground, and there are nuances there that are not encoded, like nuances of human culture and human thinking and human experiences that are not yet encoded in that entire firmament of the World Wide Web. That's the reality right now. So what you'll end up is a lot of gaps in how we understand ourselves, a lot of gaps in how we understand our society if we limit ourselves to those. So, I mean, like, it's great technology, right? It's great technology. It's things we can use. It's nice, shiny things that we can use. But it is very important to understand that these technologies feed off human culture pa rin naman. And at the end of the day, I mean, and the other thing there, kasi it's one thing I want to stress here is this: the problem right now with just like relying on things like Chat GPT, AI, like thinking about that, is that you lose the source, you lose provenance, you don't know where things came from. And the way things are, we're already losing that with the meme warfare, di ba? Yung memetic traditions that have been started in the internet, which has basically like made it possible for like parang pieces of truth, pieces of truth get circulated without context, and that is causing all these divisions in society. Like there are a lot of human summaries that that needs to be contextualized, and at the end of the day, if you rely on something like a disembodied chatbot for information, you'll have problems.
Yeah, but
you'll
Gemma,
have problems with provenance and source of information and veracity.
Yeah, JV, you want to say something?
Well, no, what Gemma is saying is definitely, it's actually one of the biggest concerns I have with AI, the scaling of this information to unseen levels. But Robbie, you did strike a very interesting point. Ultimately, there has to be a business model that will sustain people who are going to go out in the field and gather information. So I was actually thinking that ultimately, people run the ChatGPT are going to say, look, at the end of the day, this is, for example, Google. We rely on information coming into this machine, so we're going to subsidize organizations who will feed our AI. So maybe it won't be so much that we'll be collaborating with the AIs, but actually our bosses will be AIs. Our audiences will be AIs. We're writing to the machine.
Yeah, but you mentioned the word subsidy, and I ask, as you said, there has to be models that will sustain this. It's not the current models. I mean, I think our main concern is we know that it's not the current models. Even before ChatGPT exploded, we were all grappling already with the disruption, just with the platforms, just with digital and social media.
Unfortunately, AI plays to the platform strengths.
Exactly.
Like for example, our Threadborne is into data centers because AI requires such heavy compute levels that it's a scale game, and only the large platforms have the scale to one guy, they have the data that makes the AIs reach critical mass. So they have to perpetuate that machine, and that means that also all the value flows to them. So it's actually increasing the concentration of in technology.
So anyway, yes, but you're still there, diba? Christian, JV, Gemma. How do we then do that, diba? How do we then start exploring these models when the current model is so reliant on advertising, it's so reliant on traffic, and we know that the traffic is now funneled through the platform and through ChatGPT, and now it's so narrow that and the ease of use is so easy that people really don't have any incentive anymore to click through to the websites, depriving you of the pesos and the dollars, which will allow you to pay for these people who will go out into the field and carry out the mission that you've said, not to provide the human-to-human access to the other things that that are not data-driven. So how do we where do we begin to explore the models for that?
Well, OpenAI is available to customers and partners. Zoom is integrating OpenAI into its technology. I would imagine media organizations would also incorporate OpenAI and ChatGPT. In effect, you would have your own Rappler chatbot, Inquirer chatbot, and branded and perhaps like adjusted to a particular audience. So
to that end, okay, and this is intriguing. To that end, are you saying that the news product also starts to skew towards? I mean, speaking of, it's no longer an article. Maybe you're paying a news organization to be able to chat with the news organization directly. That's the news product.
You ultimately, Roby, if you start your day asking Bing what's going on, then maybe there'll come a point where you'll ask like an avatar to ask what's going on, and their avatar, like a good assistant, will give you a briefing of the day, your calendar, and everything. Like a good. Actually, the AIs at their best are like everyone now has their own very eager, well-intentioned executive assistant. A little too eager sometimes, but needs a little bit of seasoning. But now everyone has that. So our output from sort of articles, we would actually be providing a large language model for our particular audience.
Dean, if I could ask you, how is journalism taught now? Sorry, Gemma. Yeah, Gemma, go ahead.
Yeah, this is really why. So on one hand, we need to be cautious of the use of AI, but at the same time, journalists really need to, and newsrooms also need to look at how to leverage it. Because at the end of the day, it's technology that we can use. And this is really, Rappler is actually exploring it. We've done workshops internally, but at the same time, newsrooms need to be conscious and transparent on the use of AI, conscious of the possible problems with it. And that needs to be like something that we carefully study and ethically use. So I mean, it's I don't want to say parang napaka doom and gloom na will be but because I don't really think that we will be supplanted by AI. At the end of the day, there's to verification and human data gathering, and that's something that we'll use.
But I just want to bring in Dean, because I want to know to the point of Gemma, Dean, how is journalism taught at the UP College of Mass Communications now? How do we prepare our students so that they are not, in Gemma's words, supplanted by AI? How has the curriculum changed from the time I was there?
Actually, the premium is still to go out there, to go outside the mass comm. I think that's still the point. Because while, we teach ethics here, you need to practice the ethics outside when you're confronted with all of the ethical dilemmas. So I think the lesson really is to teach students to go out and do the report, the beat reporting, because, if no one does that, then there will be no content from which you will generate subsequent secondary content. So I
I
think
agree.
that's where the primacy of the journalists.
But Dean, I want to ask about specific subjects. What are subjects that exist now that did not exist during my time?
Let me check. I have to review the catalog of journalism. I'm from Comres, but
Okay.
I think the classes are still the same. But the modes of production, I think that's what is changing from what I'm getting from my friends and colleagues at the journalism department. It's how you report. That's changing. The form of the reporting is changing, but the substance and content is still the same.
Then let me ask the practitioners, JV, Christian, Gemma, what would you, without necessarily knowing anything about the curricula of the journalism programs all over the country, not just of UP, but of all schools, what subjects do you think journalism students should have right now?
If you ask me, every journalist now needs to know data. They need to understand data. They need to understand that everything from the words they've written to the numbers they gathered, the databases that they collected, that's all data, which can be processed again and rendered in various ways. So the very important yun, because you cannot even begin to fathom AI if you don't know data.
Oh yes, I agree. Yeah.
What about you, JV? What class would you suggest?
This is gonna sound evil, but I think contrary to what Gemma said about data, you would also need to beef up on quantitative stuff. And unfortunately, there will be more math will be needed in the curriculum, which I know is terrifying because I myself did not like math in college, but to work with data requires an understanding of certain mathematical disciplines. And it's almost like if you don't have that, if you actually, like, for example, if you don't know how to code at a basic level, you will be at a disadvantage. So I think those skills, and then then it's not turning out to be too hard, because I think the current generation of kids are learning these things almost unconsciously, because Minecraft and Roblox is programming. They don't even know it, but they're learning the base that it's actually, you could say, it's object-oriented programming. So in a way, it's naturally come. I know people younger than me who are more comfortable with cryptocurrency than they are with traditional banking.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah, for me, Robbie, I have three items now. Number one, I agree with Gemma and Robbie regarding Gemma and
JV.
regarding data. No? And I think part of it is actually interpretation, no? Visualization, interpretation, because data is one, but having the interpretation part is another, no? So that's one. I think it's important also for journalists to come up with a good storytelling, no? Data is, having data is one, but to come up with really a good story based on, the data that you have, data sets that you have is another. So that's one. Another one is, I'm not sure if this can be accepted in the academy, but, we accept having use cases, no? And I think it's also important for students to be exposed outside, having exposure on what's happening really outside, use cases, having actually webinars like this, no, kumbaga, exposing them to what's really happening in the outside world. That's another point, because yes, it's good that we have the students in a classroom setup, but exposing them when it comes to what's really happening in the newsroom, what's really being done with data and so forth. That's the second one. The third one is quite, I don't know if this is acceptable also, but I think we all know that news organizations or companies, they run through a business model, and I think that's one thing that Rob is pointing out earlier, no, business model. And there are different business models that we can look into, no. We've been taught that news organizations, media companies, they run through advertising. That's correct, no, before. And using these technologies, having AI, having I heard nga one time, sometimes websites right now, dapat hindi lang siya SEO optimized, but also, AI or ChatGPT optimized, no? Like that. And I think it's also a challenge for news organizations and media companies right now to really review and look into their current business models and anticipate what's coming. So yeah.
Sige. Dean, before we get into the final part of our program, I wanted you to have the final word as well. I mean, how do you see things shaping up, especially based on what we've discussed? What's your takeaway from how, I mean, when you go back to your classes after this webinar and you start meeting the students again, what's your takeaway from what we've discussed?
Okay, I think my message for especially for all of the educators here is to be open to the possibilities and not just to hold on to some of our legacy activities. We can maintain our values while changing the way we do things. I think that's my key message.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Dean, JV, Gemma, Christian, and let me bring in Nef Luczon. He's bureau chief for Northern Mindanao of the Philippine news agency. Nef will try to bring everything together and synthesize for us a lot of the many things we've already discussed. I hope I mentioned that, I said that right, Luczon. Nef, are you there? Is Nef with us? Hi, Nef.
Yes.
Sige.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. All right. So maraming salamat to Roby. Maraming salamat sa mga dumalo. 500 plus lahat, if I'm not mistaken. At sa ating mga resource speakers. Bawang lahat, konting shoutout lang sa mga PCS members, students natin nationwide, at mga media practitioners galing Mindanao na nandito ngayon, especially sa Bukidnon State University, Liceo de Cagayan University, University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. Ayan. So, Dean Paragas said it's not new from app to search engine. Sabi niya na AI tend to begin to mold the kind of society it is fostering and the kind of individuals we are nurturing in the new era of digital age. The values of digital culture vis-a-vis media and communication will eventually be influenced, and practices might bring up an updated philosophies and critiques to communication theories on cybernetics and computer-mediated communication. Sir Christian de la Cruz were also talking about Other.ai, Radio GPT as tools in the workplace. While his appreciation to AI is neutral, AI is a tool to help in producing content. Sir Javier Rufino were saying that AI is very good in producing textual content, but it is limited to very generic copies for now. It's okay, but looking for a little individuality on the material, it is something that is yet to be mastered by AI. For some industries in technology and engineering, AI truly serves as a wonder. It made things easier. Who knows, in the field of medicine, someday AI can provide solutions or guide scientists and doctors in finding remedies to incurable diseases. But in our field, especially in the academia and the media, it is something that may be concerning. We might be standing in our twilight years of our craft. Ma'am Gemma Mendoza said it becomes problematic as to what we are feeding the AI. Garbage in, garbage out, no processing. It was fed a lot of things or data, including possible disinformation, not vetted information, and it also tend to make up stuff. Sabi nga ni Ma'am, magaling mambola in an educated, convincing way. Vetting is something AI has yet to learn, along with human thinking and human experiences. Sa mga nakikinig na mga students ngayon, magandang motivation ang forum na ito to formulate possible thesis topics. Yes, pwede namang gamitin ng AI as assistant or guide na matulungan sa mga school project. Kaya lang, over-reliance to AI to the point na siya nagagawa ng projects, especially essays, would eventually defeat the purpose of learning or mastering skills. If we won't know our mistakes, our flaws in our answers, in our activities in school, what is there left to learn? What if we are facing a situation where AI is unavailable and you are left on your own and your raw skills? Ano ang gagawin mo? On a personal note, artificial intelligence is still in its infancy. It has not yet perfected human sentience, especially in acquiring emotions, the foundation of our humanity. But it is fast changing, it is evolving, it is learning, especially with more people using AI tools every day. By the way, I would also like to greet Rapid Riders Dragon Boat team, mga kasamahan sa News and Information Bureau at Cagayan de Oro Press Club who are also present. If one day we will be facing toe-to-toe with AI, perhaps one weapon as Homo sapiens might not be able to copy by AI is our human flaw and our grit to thrive and survive amid irrationalities and impossibilities that may be hard to compute. As Dean Paragas said, finding our ethical North Star. Mula dito sa Balay-Balay City, Bukidnon, ito po si Nef Luczon. Maraming salamat.
Maraming
That was
salamat,
very good.
Nef. Maraming salamat, Nef Luczon ng Philippine News Agency. And nakikita nyo naman ngayon, we're on your screen, you might be seeing the results of our panel evaluation. And let's say this is our way of saying thank you to our panelists for something that our listeners really, really appreciate based on these results. Everybody strongly agrees, or most people strongly agree, but everybody agrees that this was a fantastic panel that really showed of your knowledge and your expertise, your passion, and your caring for our field. Maraming salamat ulit to Christian de la Cruz, JV Rufino, Gemma Bagayaua, and Gemma Bagayaua-Mendoza. Sorry about that. And of course, Dean Christian de la Cruz, and of course, again, to Nef Luczon. Maraming salamat po. And with that, we're now at the end of our program. Just to remind everybody po, next month naman we will still part of our AI Naku series. We'll be having another webinar, Unlocking the Potential of AI, Strategies for Success in the Digital Age. This time it will be hosted by our colleague Michelle Ong. She is with ABS-CBN News Channel, as everybody knows. So again, maraming salamat po. Thank you for joining us. This formally closes the first AI Naku, Understanding the Concept, the Impact of Artificial Intelligence on Media and Communication Education. We look forward to your company again every last Wednesday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. And yun lang po, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng organizers. Ako po si Roby Alampay. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat.